Thank you all for attending our meeting to discuss Revitalizing Memorial Park. We're so excited to have this virtual opportunity to engage with you guys. We are going to be talking about lots of fun stuff this evening, so we are really hoping to get a lot of insights from you guys, have some conversations about what's working and not working out of Memorial Park. We recognize it's a really awesome place and we want to make it even better in the long run. So we'll be going through some reminders of how to participate in our webinar this evening, also doing some introductions of ourselves, the project team, talking about what this project is, how you guys can be contributing to it with us, and a little bit about the park and how we think it may unfold in the future, which you guys are really going to lead that conversation, and then some open comment and question time. So tonight, some of these lovely panelists you see in front of you are some of those from the city who are sponsoring this effort. So we have Matt Morley, our Director of Public Works, who we know is here. We saw his face a moment ago. He's just hiding behind the non-camera. Also, Rochelle Sanders, she's the Acting Director of Parks and Recreation. Hello. And Susan Michael, our Capital Improvement Programs Manager. And then also our Project Manager, Ayano Hattori.
Hello. Thank you for coming.
Awesome. And then we are all, Michael, Dana, and I are all representatives from Gates and Associates. We're the consultant that the city is working with to come up with a specific plan for Memorial Park. So good evening. Hi there. We've got a couple little Gateses after our names, so you know who we are. So first and foremost, we got a chance to just introduce ourselves, but we'd love to hear a little bit from you guys in this lovely webinar format. So we have our first poll that we'd love to ask you guys, how did you hear about this? What venue that we've offered is working to get you guys here and participating and helping us spread the word about the project? So hopefully you're seeing a poll pop up on your screen. Please go ahead and select how you heard about this, because that is an avenue we will continue to use. We are really hoping to get as many folks involved in this as possible. We figure the more insights we have, the better we can deliver an awesome product at the end. Seems like a lot of people on social media, a couple on email. Engage Cupertino website's working, fantastic. Okay, so I get the feeling we've heard from who we're gonna hear from. Ooh, we got a door hanger sign. Yes, success. Awesome. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and share the results so you guys can see where we're hearing things from. Aha, cool. Okay, so it sounds like a lot of you guys, social media, awesome. Some of them on our website, email, door hanger, great. So we love it. If you guys want to continue to stay involved in this project, we're going to tell you this 100 times, but we will keep giving updates on Engage Cupertino. We're going to be shouting from the rooftops, asking questions, and trying to really get a lot of insights from everybody. So what is it we're doing, right? So Memorial Park is a central hub of the community, and I imagine that most of you are pretty familiar with it. It's an awesome destination within the city, and it has this component to it where there are all of these ponds that are getting filled in. So suddenly we have this extra space we didn't have before. And there's also a lot of things that were called out in the master plan that could happen here. So now we've come in and we're like, what could this ultimate plan look like? So we're putting together the specific plan for Memorial Park. So what we're hoping to do is pay attention to what's there and great that we want to keep or build upon, and focus on opportunities to maybe improve event spaces, to maybe improve social gathering, make sure that we maintain those pieces that are really valued and appreciated in the community today, and contribute to that sense of place and make sure that it remains the beloved space that it is, while still growing and evolving with the community. So that takes us to another poll. So we would love to understand how far you guys on this webinar with us this evening are from Memorial Park. Are some of you those immediate neighbors, you walk past it every day? Some of you come once in a while, you live a little bit further. What does that look like? So we're going to pop up another poll on your screen. Okay, so it's most of us are between 1 and 5 miles. We got a handful of people who are really close to, so I imagine most of you know this park really intimately, which is amazing. So we recently, or there was recently, a master plan for the parks and recreation and open spaces in Cupertino. And a lot of goals came out of that effort. And some of those included what you're seeing on your screen are things that we want to make sure we're perpetuating in the specific plan for Memorial Park as well. We want to pay attention to passive and active recreation spaces. We want to make sure we're thinking about connections to the park, within the park, making sure that everything that's proposed is equitable and inclusive, and keeping and being mindful about sustainability as well. And we also want to be mindful of the goals and guidelines that were set forth in the master plan, so making sure that we prioritize those things as well, and consider some of the things that were suggested. So some of the ideas for Memorial Park were to include pickleball. Maybe there would be opportunities for some of the other goals that were set forth here, and making sure that we maintain it as a community hub, a social gathering space, and really a core for the Cupertino community. So another poll to learn a little bit more about you guys. How is it that you most frequently use Memorial Park? So we're going to have another poll pop up in front of you. Lots of options. You can select more than one as well. So let us know what the most frequent use in Memorial Park is for you. And you know, a good little hint of what's to come, if there's a way you're using Memorial Park that isn't listed here, maybe that's something we should hear about. Maybe there's a purpose that's serving for you in your daily life that we should know and try to make sure we're being mindful of as we come up with our specific plans. So what is so cool to me is that at least one person picked everything, right? So this park is serving so many uses today, which is incredible. And I think there's opportunity to figure out how we make those things even better. I see most people said that they go for attending a special event, which is great. We know there are a lot of really cool festivals and stuff out there, and we want to make sure that we continue to facilitate those. A lot for exercising, getting into nature, having a picnic, hanging out with friends. So I think a lot of the goals set forth in the master plan, which included civic engagement opportunities and social opportunities, are how it's really being used today, which is great. So we want to really pay attention to continuing to perpetuate those goals, which is great because it sounds like that's how it exists in the community today. So we want to make sure as we suggest some of those improvements or as longevity into the future that we're aligned with that flexible use, civic engagement opportunities, social gathering, and opportunities for festive events as well. So one of the guiding principles that we're putting forth as we move on in this project is making sure we're thinking about that connectedness internally and externally, making sure we're thinking about habitat, so not just for plants and animals, but also for ourselves, making sure it's safe for people and walkable and lit in a reasonable but respectful of the dark sky policy kind of way. We want to make sure it provides high quality recreation opportunities and that those are inclusive to all bodies and types and ages and everything we've got. And then we want to make it sustainable and not just in an environmental aspect, but also financially and as in regards to programs and services. So we want to hear a little bit more about you. We know tons of people use this park as an event space. So in our poll that's about to pop up, we'd love to hear which events you've attended at Memorial Park. Okay, so you've got a little poll popping up in front of you. See if we can get some ideas from you guys about what you've attended for, and you can choose more than one answer as well. I think it's cool that we have this many to list. I just think that's really neat. Such a well-used and well-programmed park. It's fun. And again, this is one of those, if you did answer other, when we get to some of the more open discussion opportunities, it'd be great to hear what other things there are. We want to make sure we consider all of its uses. So it looks like most people attend for the Cherry Blossom Festival, which is great. We see a handful of people for the summer concert series. I love those. Shakespeare in the Park, Bay Area Diwali's up in just a couple weeks. We're going to be there as well with a booth set up to talk about it. So all sorts of different events that we're all attending, which is so fun and great. So what we're doing this evening is we are in round one of this project. So what we're doing first is trying to listen and understand about what's happening in the park today, what's great, what could be better or different in between, how are we using it, what did we love about it, and what could we do in the future to continue to make it as awesome as it is today. So your guys are participating in our community webinar. We've had a bunch of meetings with some people within the city and everything to understand what's going on in the park. And then from there, we're gonna take all this information back, turn it up, and start to put together some concepts of how we see the plan for the park potentially laying out. We'll bring those ideas back to you guys to get some input. You can tell us we like this here, we don't like that there, maybe move this, change things here, and then we'll come back again with this preferred plan. And that's when we'll have one more opportunity to talk about it, refine it, understand those details. You guys will have an opportunity to understand what this means and what's it likely to mean for the improvements of the park in the future. And then we'll adopt that plan. And from there, those improvements can start to be planned out. So the best place to get information about the project, as it sounds like some of you already know, is the Engage Cupertino website. You'll find under the project list, you can find the Memorial Park specific plan. There is currently an online survey underway, which hopefully you've all seen. It's going to be open until the 9th of October. If you know anybody who hasn't taken it, please send it their way. Again, we'd like to hear from as many people as possible. On Saturday, we will be at the Cupertino Library with a nice little booth. We have some boards picked up. Sorry, my dogs decided to just cruise around aimlessly. We'll have some boards set up where we're asking questions, just like you're seeing on the online survey. People have an opportunity to put some dots on, tell us things that they love about Memorial Park. Also on the 24th, we'll be at the Day and the Night Fun Fest. And then you'll also see us at the Bay Area Diwali Festival. Similar booth setup, asking lots of questions. So another poll. Memorial Park serves a lot of purposes for us. And so when we're trying to think about how can we strategize for these best suited for the community improvements, it helps us to think about it in areas of emphasis, which doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have to land in one way or the other, but to begin to prioritize some of those improvements. We'd love to ask you guys today, how do you see Memorial Park? Is it primarily a civic event space? Is it more of a community gathering, social opportunity, or do you find it as more of a recreational, natural park and site? And we recognize it's hard to pick just one, and we did that on purpose. Just because a lot of ideas are set forth in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan that really deem some identities for this space, and we just want to validate and understand if that's how it's currently perceived, and hint for the next question, is that where we still want it to go? All right, thank you guys. So as you can see, half of you guys felt like it was a community gathering space. The playgrounds, picnic areas, a nice solid chunk thought it was best for concerts, festivals, and sports, and even a little piece felt like it was great for just some of that passive recreation. So if you had to choose an identity, and again, we're forcing you to choose just one, I know this isn't easy, but an identity that was perpetuated as the park began to evolve, what would your preference be? Would you want it to be a civic and event space, this community gathering space, or natural site and park? So this is into the future as we start to make improvements and think about how our community may evolve. What would we really like to see an emphasis on? All right, cool. So we're seeing a bit of a shift, right? So a lot of people think it would be great to keep it as a community gathering space, a little bit of a shift to more of natural site and park, and still some holding on to the civic and event space, which is really great. Thank you guys for that feedback. Okay, so this is when we would love, you've done a lot of polls, I've talked at you for a while, we'd love to open it up and have some conversations. And so what I'm sharing on the slide are some inspirational images of maybe some things that could happen in the park that might be civic and event space oriented. And then I'm going to click to a couple of other ideas and we can move back and forth with these if you guys are interested, of what we might be able to see in the park that could contribute to some of that community gathering space, public art, outdoor classroom spaces, all abilities play structures. Or maybe it's really resonating with you to see more green space, more natural play opportunities, maybe some pollinator gardens or things that really promote a more passive use. So I splashed through these pictures just really quickly because we want to hear from you guys about your ideas of, as we see Memorial Park revitalized, reinvigorated, opportunities with the ponds and some of the ideas from the master plan implemented into the specific plan, what would you really like to see? So if you guys want to go ahead and utilize the raise hand feature, we'll have an opportunity to let you speak in our webinar. Other people can hear your ideas. We can make sure we capture all of that as well, and we'll consider it when we're coming up with our concept plans.
And Steve, you should be able to unmute and share some of your ideas about how to revitalize Memorial Park.
Well, I would like to see the lakes rebuilt, of course. That's what my friends and I have all been waiting for. And we're a little unsure why that's not on a list anywhere. So that's what I'm interested in mainly.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Can I ask, actually, before we remove our opportunity to chat with Steve, what was it about the lakes that really resonated with you? You liked the opportunity with water or the organic shape of it? What about the lakes was resonating?
Oh, the park has been a beautiful sort of jewel of this entire area. I've lived here my whole life. It's always been great, of course, until the lakes got turned off and fell into disuse. And I know other people who don't live in Cupertino who are just really have a great impression of the park because it's more special than other parks. It's not just some random batch of lawns. It's a beautiful place, or it was. And I think a lot of people continue to walk around and imagine the lakes that are no longer there. So it's a beautiful area. It's very good for one's mental state. And it's nice to have something besides, I guess, what you might call purely practical things in a city.
So if you didn't have the ponds, and if we were trying to be, I mean, any feedback is great feedback, so don't let me make you feel like I'm talking about it as Steve. I just want to understand so we're thoughtful about our design. So if an option to put in ponds, being as we're, entering this drought, and it sounds like they, at a certain point, became a little bit unsightly, what would help bring back that feeling that was evoked for you by the ponds that might not be them exactly? There's something.
Well, I mean, the water feature of ponds is a big deal. And I'm not sure that one little park, whatever evaporation may occur, I just do not believe that's really affecting the drought in any way, shape, or form. I think farming, for instance, in the Central Valley affects water. I don't think a little teeny tiny park in Cupertino affects the drought. I do want to see beauty, and I do want to see a contrast to the rest of my life. The park, the reason to go there is to feel better, to relax, to enjoy the world we live in. And it's not about practical things. I deal with practical things all day long, all week long. The park, I think, is an area to relax, to enjoy oneself, and perhaps have gatherings with other people. So that's my interest.
I love that. Yeah, so it's like you enjoy the passive opportunity, but also the social engagement that may come from that as well.
Well, I mean, I certainly like the Cherry Blossom Festival and a few things, though there seems to be perhaps, I don't want to say restrict anybody's access to the park, I guess, but there is quite an abundance of activities there. I live very close to it, so I'm well aware of lots of things going on there all the time. It's certainly no shortage of events at the park. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
And Lisa, I see your hand up next. You should be able to unmute and share your ideas of how to revitalize
Hi.
Memorial Park.
Hi. So it's not, what I'd like to comment on is what I don't want to see going away or added. I would like to voice something about not adding any parking to take the place of space where people can enjoy. And I'm not alone in that. And there is an assumption that may happen if you're to design something that becomes more of a theater type thing there that's indoors. And I saw an image with indoor classes, which we have at Quinlan Center. We don't need any more. We don't need buildings in the park. People want the space, not buildings and parking. And I think that's important to understand. And I know I'm not speaking for everyone, but I do know I'm speaking for many, many people. And the baseball, softball fields and that section over there they're used by a wide range of ages. Even if people aren't playing, they're watching. I would hate to see those go to replace with something else, but I don't see those even really mentioned, and I admit I came into the meeting a little late. I think there should be a discussion, if there has not been, not what new things do you want, but what things do you want to make sure we don't get rid of?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think what we heard from you is you love the field. You don't feel as though there needs to be additional parking added or new like buildings and theater structures.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think you nailed it. I mean, this is the conversation we'd like to have. Is it's like, what is it that you love that you want to make sure isn't messed with, and what is it that's maybe not great that is potentially something we could think about making better?
And during public events, the playgrounds get a great deal of use. I don't know how much they're used on an everyday basis, but if there's any discussion about replacing or moving the existing playgrounds, I have no indication that they're unsafe the way they are. They're used happily. There's a lot of variety in what you can do. And I would hate money to be spent taking something out just to replace it somewhere else with something more to date, should we call it, because it's not necessary.
Sure.
Unless you're getting, in my opinion, unless you're getting input from somewhere else. And if it had been maybe replaced by the magical bridge kind of park, that's one thing, but we all have been told that's not going to happen because that's a Jollyman and there won't be another one. And there's room to add some of those features to the existing playgrounds. So I would be mindful of spending money to undo and redo something very similar. I also want to just, I mean, there's probably lots of things in my head I'm not coming up with yet, but when you talk natural habitat, it's sort of a buzzword these days, and we have a lot of actual natural habitat elsewhere in the city and in surrounding county area, other city areas. I think we just need to make it a nice, big, normal park like it was. And Steve, I hear you about the ponds, which you're calling lakes, but the reason those are getting torn out is mostly because of the geese and because they were let to get run down. And if you really want that, you're going to have to talk really loud about it, because one of the main things was to get rid of those. And so I understand it. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
And the next hand I have is Mahesh. You should be able to unmute and talk.
Thank you. I had just two comments to make. One is the amphitheater. We need to improve that and make it better. Like it is now there's some challenges in terms of that. There's a space which in front of the amphitheater which we are not able to use it. Maybe you can have some sails on the top and no walkway in between the amphitheater, so that it's just focused for events. And maybe we can make it much prettier, and so that people can enjoy the events that are happening out there. That's one thing I was thinking, like, how do you make it more modern and more advanced and make it more prettier, more capacity for people to sit, so that way they can enjoy the weather as well as enjoy the sessions that are going on. That's one thing. And the second is Cupertino has a very strong sister city relationship. So there are multiple sister cities. We can put some artifacts from each of the countries, like Japan, India, create some more ambience of the different sister cities, structures or statues. I don't know. We can think about that and make it more culturally diverse kind of a thing. So these are the 2 points that I want to make.
I love that idea. Susan, did you want to say something?
I was just gonna say that we are actually planning on working on the amphitheater. We definitely need to update the sound system, and there are other improvements that we're planning. We're trying to do it separate from this project because we know we're going to keep the amphitheater. But we're trying to get this project going first, and then we'll get back to that. Thanks for saying that.
Thank you. I've got Rena also. She's saying that even maybe the powers, there's no power supply there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, those kind of stuff, which make it more.
Definitely.
Thank you. Yeah, great suggestions.
Yeah, that's a priority. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Sandra, you're the next on the list. You should be able to unmute and share your ideas of how to revitalize Memorial Park.
Great. Speaking. Thank you for doing this. I walk through the park multiple times per week, and I just wanted to make the comment that there are always children and either their parent or nanny with them in the play areas. They're not full, but there's always somebody there each time we go. I also want to voice some concern about parking. I really wouldn't like to see it expanded, but I think we have to be cognizant that we've lost all the parking that was available in the former Oak Shopping Center. So I would not really be a proponent of really pushing for large, evening type events there and that sort of thing. I don't know where the people are going to be able to leave their, cars if it attracts people from other parts of our community. So just that concern is considered. One of the events that my family did with my kids and now have done many times with my grandkids is the 4th of July events. And that wasn't listed there as something that I really think we should work hard on retaining. That's a good thing across the generations to celebrate every year. And then I would not be opposed to seeing a water feature added in one of the children's play areas. But my concern about those is my entire life, I've seen water features added to parks and they're absolutely never on or used. And if we were to consider something like that, I would just like consideration is, are there communities that successfully use these all the time in the summer and that sort of thing? How does that happen? Keeping the liability within reason and all that. Because kids adore that kind of activity. And overall, I just think it's a wonderful park. I do feel that there's a lot of parks near us that really do have a lot of natural habitat. So I don't know that really needs to be a focus for this one. I do miss the ponds, but I also hated walking through there with all the problems with the geese. So I don't know how you can mitigate that adequately. But I loved our ponds when we had them, but they became awful. And do you want to add anything?
No, it's mitigating the wildfowl is a big deal now.
And I think that's probably it from us. Thank you for doing this again.
Yeah, thank you.
Sandra, JR, you should be available to unmute and share some of your ideas for Revitalize Memorial Park.
Thank you for hosting this. So just a few comments. I wholeheartedly agree with Mahesh with regard to the amphitheater space. It definitely needs modernization. I'm really happy to hear that we're going to be moving forward with that. One of the things that really occurs to me, having recently planned a large wedding, is that we don't have very many venues in the city for large weddings. And Hayes Manor seems to be one of the few places in southern San Jose that is able to host very large weddings, in particular Sangeets. It would be nice to see some sort of modernization of the Quinlan Center to be able to take it up a notch and allow for that market to be explored here, especially given our population in Cupertino at present. This would be a good thing to be able to serve. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Great idea.
And Sandra, I see your hand is up. I just wanted to make sure if you meant to. If not, I will come back to you. I'm going to let Nori talk. Nori, you should be able to unmute and share your ideas.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Memorial Park is well known and the biggest park in Cupertino next to Quinlan Community Center, sports center, tennis court, and baseball field, senior center, amphitheater, Vietnam Memorial, and two big field, except safe, all-inclusive playground. Wonderful all-inclusive playground, a play park for all ability, physical, cognitive disabilities, and all ages of children, and for aging populations. The current too small and safe playground should be torn down and built in safe or inclusive play park. Create a various zone. One zone is for toddler, other zone are for swing, spin zone, slide zone, sound zone, art zone, and nature zone. And there is a senior center next to Memorial Park, and large senior and assisted living unit will be built at Westport. There is a large senior population in Cupertino. This play park is also for those aging populations. Senior active and gathering area can be built near senior center. Basketball court can be built for teenagers and adults, and safe bike and scooter lane can be built for children around repurposed big and small ponds. And the flower garden can be built at the nature zone in the play park. Children can touch and smell the beautiful flowers and enjoy the nature, especially children with special needs, and can enjoy. And city park and recreation can offer enrichment activities, socialization in the play park, and a summer camp for children with special needs at the Quinlan Community Center. And Memorial Park is easy access from Stevens Creek of 85. Therefore, many families can visit from other city. This is good for small businesses. This play park will be excited, beautiful nature, fun, sports, and dreamland for all ages of children, children with special needs, adults, and aging populations. Please consider. Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't have anybody else's hands raised to share their ideas. If anybody has, oh, I see another one. I spoke too soon. Jean, you should be able to unmute and share your ideas now.
Okay. What I would like to see, I mean, it's already been mentioned that a nice bicycle trail around a scooter trail or whatever. I would like to see a walking exercise around the perimeter with exercise stations along the way. So you could do around the whole park, or you could do half around the park, but along the way, you could sit down at a bench or do your sit-ups or do your pull-ups or whatever, and get your exercise in. Very much like the trail at the Baylands. It's wide and it has bicycles and it has hikers and seers and photos, and if you want to line it with the flowers that we're just talking about, that would be nice. And then people with their their cameras can photograph the flowers, and we can have a little of the nature. That's my suggestion. Oh, the other thing is I worry about the parking. I don't know whether, going underground or go, wherever there's just no place to park except on the streets or across the streets, but it's a hike. Whatever you call it, it's a hike. So we have to have some place for the cars, maybe dig up, put them underground or overhead. I don't know. That's a problem. Now I'm finished.
Thank you, Jean.
Thanks, Jean. Just in a last call, anybody else have thoughts? Still got a couple of minutes we can chat. If you do want to share your ideas, just raise your hand and I will allow you to unmute.
Okay. So if you are inspired, lots of ideas, things going on, but you don't really want to say it right now and you want to collect your thoughts, you have a chance to chat with us again. This is not open or over and done with. So we will be, as I mentioned earlier, still keeping our survey live until October 9th. We will also be at these upcoming events shown on your screens on the 17th at the library, at the 24th at the Day and Night Fun Fest, and on the 8th of October at the Diwali event. And we would really love if you guys could continue to share the survey with anyone you know so that we can continue to get feedback from the community about what to prioritize, what's working, what's not working, and how you would like to see Memorial Park revitalized. Thank you all so much for your participation this evening. We really love all your insights. We've taken notes. We've recorded this meeting as well so that we're able to refer back to it and make sure that we're really thoughtful about all the input we've received. Susan, did you want to say something?
No, I just thank you.
I just saw the
everybody for listening tonight.
unmute. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you taking your time this evening to chat with us, and we'd love to continue to hear more from you as the project progresses. So thank you.